Well, in the earlier quarterfinal match, Burkina Faso beat Tunisia 2-0 in Libreville. Now, for a look back at those matches and more, we are joined in studio by SABC sports analyst Thando Gqamane. Welcome to PM News.
Thanks very much for having me, Pearl.
Right, before we get into the games, the quarterfinal games from last night, I want to quickly take a look at the tournament and where it's at and where we got to be where we are right now. It's been about just 2 weeks since the tournament started. Now, a lot of political instability in Gabon. How, in your opinion, has the country actually handled hosting the tournament? Have the locals received it well? Have there been any complaints outside of grumpy football fans not happy with what they see on the pitch?
I don't think so. I think the tournament has been received quite well. We saw quite a lot of work towards, making sure that the tournament is run smoothly ahead of the tournament. There was a lot of, information and strategies that were put in place to ensure that the political side of things doesn't influence on the on-field side of things. Even the dignitaries have come out in numbers most of the time to the big games. I must say, we saw a lot of them, flanking the president of CAF, Issa Hayatou, in the stadiums, especially in Libreville and in Franceville. Franceville, by the way, is also the home or the way towards the home of Ali Bongo, the president of Gabon's home village. It's called Bongoville. It's been quite well, and I think they've tried their utmost best to sort of put Gabon out there more than worry about will the politics interfere, will there be anything that will hinder any games from going well. So I think the tournament has gone quite well. So we would definitely need to credit guys like CAF for organizing and running the tournament so smoothly, up to date. And even the people have come out to support it. You mentioned the game, the Burkina Faso game. It was incredible the amount of support they had in the stadium. I think it's one of the things that also turned around the game for them, but we'll get to that in a minute. Yeah.
All right, yes, we will. Thando, just a quick one. How far is Africa in terms of infrastructure in hosting tournaments of this magnitude? Are we getting to a place where we're not seeing that many bumpy pitches, infrastructure that's falling apart? How far are we?
I think that's one of the things that a lot of people will complain about in this tournament, the pitches. They mostly have sand. They're very heavy, the feet tend to get stuck in the pitch whilst the players are running. So it depends a lot on the kind of equipment that they use as well. And it's been a ongoing trend right through the tournament in the different cities as well, Franceville, Libreville, and the different stadiums as well. There's been a lot of sand visibly. It's been very rough to play out there, and for physical games, and as physical as African players are, and our African game with a little bit of the flair, but it's been quite hard. So we somewhat are getting there, at least as long as we are not playing on artificial turfs anymore. There's been that notion for the past, and before the last 10 years or so, before we had the World Cup, and it was just a venture that was, to enable the cities and the countries that do not have good fields and so forth to be able to play on such a pitch where they should strive to do better, and they can do better and improve as to when they will start playing on pure grass. So I think we are getting there in terms of structures. The fields have been good, it's not world standards, they don't have a roof, they don't cover our heads, So I think, from not having any and playing on just, concrete ground at some stage, Africa is getting up there, and especially with the quality of players we're producing. So that means the more we do that, the more we get investors, and the more we actually ended up lifting our standard and structures.
All right, let's get into yesterday's game. Burkina Faso, obviously having finished at the top of Group A, beat Tunisia. So was that expected in your opinion, and how did that game turn out for you?
It was not really expected, I must definitely say. Tunisia came into the tournament as one of the teams that have had a good defensive record. They usually always have a good defensive record. I mean, if you look at the game itself, it was a good scrap in the middle of the game, some chances here and there. And Tunisia, Burkina Faso got more chances. Nakaloma, they're missing a good chance. It was the trend of the game. They got more chances than Tunisia, in the first 20 minutes of the first half, and then Tunisia came back, as they obviously would. Bertrand Traoré missed quite a lot of opportunities during the game. He was one of the special players for Burkina Faso in this game and overall, even with his other older brother, There's about 3 of them. There's Sibri, you know, he's struggling to make the starting lineup, and there's Razak Traore in the center who's playing quite well. Aristide Barnes comes off the bench in the 80th minute and scores within 2 or 3 minutes that he's on the field, you know. And from there, I think even you could see the anticipation, you know. They wanted it more. Their coach, Paulo Duarte, is a guy who's very experienced. He has coached Burkina Faso before a couple of times. So when he went back to coach them again this time around, he has been through a couple of AFCON tournaments with them. And after not doing well, especially in group stages, they've obviously let go of his services. But they went back and took his service. I mean, you can see how much it means to these boys. They were busy celebrating like they had won the tournament, I was saying, and while doing commentary. But it was definitely a good game. Not the result a lot of people thought, but going into the game, I thought Burkina Faso stood a very good chance with the mastermind like Paulo Duarte in the bench.
And speaking about Barnes, I saw yesterday on Twitter, I mean, every football lover was tweeting about him, saying how fantastic it is, saying just how much he's still got to give. So why would Chippa United have let go of a player like that who, at age 32, is still quite in there and is making games and scoring goals?
Well, I think we're definitely going to see a lot of tweets, you know, from and Facebook posts from Chippa United players who played with him. Couch football experts, you know, just letting us know how it felt to play with such a guy. I think Banse, to start with, is a world-class player. He's always been. He's played in a number of leagues across the world, you know. He's been into Israel, he's been overseas to Asia. I think he's currently there now, playing very well, especially, you know, given the fact that he came to South Africa as well. You know, our league is also growing in leaps and bounds. And after leaving Chippa United, one would have wondered, honestly, was it him or was it maybe Chippa United, the style of play that they used? You know, one might maybe look at how, or maybe the kind of coaches they had at that time, you know, not highly experienced international coaches or of that caliber maybe, until you got someone like Dan Dance. I mean, you can see the influence this guy has on this entire squad. When he came on, everything was wrapped up so fast. His substitution was done in like 2 seconds. I had never seen a substitution that fast, you know, and it was to the T, I must say. So I think Chippa United couldn't really find a proper way of using him, given the circumstances and the kind of player that he is. He holds the ball up at the top. He gives you an aerial option when crosses are played into the box, set pieces, corners. And he also takes players on. He's big. He's a big fella for a striker. You know, he looks like Ronaldo, the original one. Just forgot his name. Yeah, he looks like Ronaldo, the original one. You know, the first Ronaldo, Brazilian Ronaldo. He's deceptive. He has pace. He does have a little bit of skill as well. You know, he plays football in timing. You know, he doesn't really struggle much. So yeah, I think Chippa United will really think that they've lost when they let him go here.
All right, very quickly, Senegal versus Cameroon. I think a bit of history repeated itself there. What is it going to take for Senegal to actually make it way further into this tournament?
Look, from hosting it in the early 90s, I think they've been the most unlucky team because because they've had the superstars, you know, the Alhaji Dioufs, you know, a lot to just name them. They've had the kind of players and the caliber of players who could have gone on and won the tournament for them when they were still the mighty feared Senegal, you know. They're only starting to get feared now because they have a lot of top players who play in European leagues, you know.
But what do they bring to the African game?
Look what they brought. I mean, they were the favorites. If you speak to any South African, I think we, especially on radio, we monitored a lot of the guys who would call in and so forth. And they would, you know, would ask, which country do you think will win? Senegal, you know. So I think it was unfortunate for players like Thando Gqamane not to rise to the occasion when it matters the most. I mean, Liverpool are also missing him, but his country meant more. And it would have been really awesome for them to go as far as even the final, to say. But I think true pundits knew that at some stage they would crack, and unfortunately they did. And, you know, Cameroon's awesome fire. And
very quickly, Thando, the final. Yeah. What are your predictions? Who we're going to see in the final?
I think DRC have what it takes to go to the final. They're coached by someone who knows them quite well. You know, Florent Ibenge, he's coached a a lot of the teams at home in the DRC as well. We saw him take a lot of them as well to almost, you know, Champions League and CAF Confederations final. He has also been part and with this DRC team for quite a while now. So it's definitely time to see them go through. They've been the dark horses of the tournament, but when you still have Cameroon and you still have Burkina Faso who are firing at all cylinders, and you still have in up north African quarterfinal coming up in Egypt, Morocco. So there's still a lot to play for. As long as people know that guys like Cote d'Ivoire, defending champions, are not there anymore to cause anything. So yeah, I think it's still open, but DRC will be there for me.
All right, that is how we wrap up this chat on the AFCON tournament that is been currently going on.